Excellent. So great to have you on. I really look forward to having this discussion with you on joy, happiness, and fulfillment. But before we get into the topic, I would love you to share how you've arrived at what you're doing today, your journey to where you are today.
So, as you know, I'm passionate about business, passionate about wellness, passionate about mindset. So, my journey has been very purpose aligned, purpose driven, and that's pretty much how I've arrived here. Always focusing on, okay, what are the gaps? Is it aligned with my purpose? And pretty much, what do I need to do to get to that next step?
And it's a big one because often people are thinking, "What is my purpose?" And and I spent a bit of time, certainly probably a good portion of my life so far, looking or trying to find that. So, how did you find it so early on? Like, what is it? How did you come across your purpose?
Yeah. So, as you may know, may not know, when I was young, I was brought up in an Italian household and it was awesome. But I knew that I wanted a different life for myself. So my first thought was, okay, if I'm to have a different life, I want to certainly take all the good food, all of that, the community, the love, all that sort of stuff, because that was awesome. But I knew that there was something that I wanted that was different. And I think, like any next generation, like my family came from Italy. So obviously they took their, I guess, next step to come to Australia aligned with their purpose to build a new life for their family. And I was thinking, okay, what's next for me? Not articulating that at the age of 13, but in my head at 13, I knew that I just wanted to do something different and have a different life. So I thought the one way to do this is to have a business. So I planned it in my head that I was going to have a business as soon as I could. So I did that. And that was the first step I took to aligning with my purpose to build a different life so I could build wealth. Yeah. Because we had everything, we didn't do without at all. And we had roof over our head, weren't doing poorly at all. But I knew that I wanted something a little bit easier for my family. So I knew that a business would be, I guess, the first thing I could do to take the first step aligned with my purpose to do that. So as my journey evolved, there were different gaps, and through different stages of life there was different needs. You get married, have children, obviously, grow a business, different things. So you need different things through different stages of life. You need to reassess, okay, where am I at, what do I need to do, what does it feel like? Yeah, because that's a big thing. People don't tap into the intuition, and they often override the intuition by thinking, okay, that's what society wants me to do. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. But it's simpler than that. You just need to think, if it doesn't feel right, like, what's going on? Like, what do I need to do to make it simpler and aligned with what me and my family or myself need? So through the process, it was really simple. And I'm still doing that now. I'm redoing my parts of my life plan at the moment for my next stage because I'm about to hit that big number in a few years. So with that, I thought, need to refine things a little bit more to bring things closer to me. And I feel that when you feel that there's something not working or there's a gap, you need to think, okay, what's the purpose of what I'm doing? Is it aligned with what I want, what I need, what my family wants? And what do I need to do to close the gaps to get there? And I think it's not always about achieving, but I've noticed with myself in my journey and working with people, once they get clarity on their direction in life, aligned with purpose, that instantly brings them a sense of inner peace and greater happiness. And that gives them that sense of, I guess, how can I put it? That motivation. It gives them that sense of ease to kind of make it happen because it's aligned with what they essentially want to do and where they want to go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
so
a
that's what brought me here. Yes.
I I I was just thinking, like, it was because the stage of your life when you set up your business is when most people are going off and getting a degree. You know, they're going into further education and following this very traditional path. And so from an early age, you're sort of going against the grain, or really just connected with who you are, and just we're going with what felt right. And I think too often, as you said, we get too much, we listen too much to the outside world as opposed to our inner world, and we allow the outside world to dominate our
Mhm.
direction. And
Yeah.
whereas you're very in touch with who you are, what feels right, and you very much stay that course.
Yeah. Although, Anthony, there was a few years ago where probably because of a whole bunch of stuff happening and all of that, I kind of lost groundedness with that. And then, in all sincerity, after that, I thought, no, I've got to keep it simple. And then I thought, what do I need to do? Because I've always thought, when you're younger, you need to kind of do great things like either get a degree, or if you're changing things, you need to do something amazing like that to kind of get to your next step, or have a business, build it up, whatever it is. And I was thinking a few years ago, I wasn't sort of feeling so grounded with my next step. And then I thought, I don't need to do anything different. I've already know what to do. I just need to do the simple stuff and it will make me happy and it'll get me to that next step. And that's what I did. And it just opened up so much joy, to be honest, and so much freedom.
And what is that simple stuff to you? What are the things that you're doing that really bring that fulfillment, sense of joy and freedom?
Yeah. It's really at home, for example, just a simple walk to the beach, or, picking up the children from school. Like last year, for example, was really, really crazy where my husband Mark had to take the children to school a lot, which is fine. And he hadn't had to do that before. But I felt that that was kind of taking away a bit of joy because that was my connected time with the children. And it's basic things like that. Even like, just having time to reflect, having that time, because we live in such a crazy busy life sometimes, and it's just so important to have time just to be. I was saying that to our doctor the other day or the other week. Like, something happened when I was waiting outside to see him, and he asked me if everything was okay because this old gentleman was lovely and he must have been old and like lonely, and he was chatting to me. And my doctor said, "I'm so sorry. Like, he must have just needed someone to talk to." I said, "That's fine." But in a roundabout way, it came about, and I said to him, "I actually got there, and I knew I had to wait, and it was just my time to be." And that's what I was looking forward to, just time being and sitting in my own space and gathering my thoughts. And that brings me joy as well, because when you have that opportunity to be, it helps you catapult to that next little milestone, or just having a good day, or just helping things synchronize in the mind just to feel more whole.
It's so true. Like as they say, we're human beings and not human
Yeah,
doers. And, and very much the world is centered around doing and is tied up with, linked to productivity and need to be achieving and
yeah,
that's all linked to success and all this. And so people think they need to, keep doing that and they get into these automated ways of behaving in terms of chasing these things and doing what everyone else is doing. Whereas it's as you said, the growth comes through when you're being and reflecting that
yeah,
catapults you, as in your words, catapults you to the next level because
yeah,
you generate increased awareness when you're being and reflecting, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
totally.
and otherwise we just get stuck into just doing what we
Yeah.
know and keep doing that. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. And I think that, from a practical perspective, people need a strategic plan in business to kind of get there. But when it comes to mindset and living, you just need that stillness just to move forward, like you're saying. Yeah.
And just on the stillness, because often people will comment that I just can't, like, it's uncomfortable being still. So you're obviously a master of stillness and reflecting. And
Oh, I know. Try
but
hard.
how do you do it?
Oh my gosh. Like, it's not easy. Like, I shouldn't say this on air, but like, probably got ADHD, so I'm not a master of stillness, right? My mind and my body's always moving. I was born running, and I think I'll go that way too. So I just bring, it's going to sound strange, but rituals into my day. So I try to get up early and I'll go up on the terrace and I'll just have time meditating, and that sets up my day. And I do that at night as well. In bed, I don't have technology around. I'll read for ages, and I'll just have a ritual where I'll listen to something or just meditate, where that gives me that stillness. And even in my schedule, it's probably getting a bit too deep, but I actually, because obviously I have clients and it's often back to back. So in between doing stuff, I have time blocked out. It's just like 15 minutes blocks here and there where I get to just breathe and just be. Either go for a walk, or I've got a walking pad now, Anthony, in my office. So I try and do that. So it's kind of stillness in a different way. It's kind of taking my mind away from what I'm doing and being active, but creating that stillness as I'm doing a bit of exercise as well.
Yeah, I very much relate to that. I do stillness through movement, right? So I do a walking meditation. Yeah. So for me, sitting still doesn't do it for me. If I'm just walking along the beach up and down, I can be very mindful. So yeah, I think you got to do what works for you, right? Sitting and having your legs crossed and all that sort of stuff. It's not for everyone.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
exactly. And different things would work at different times of life and on different days, etc.
true.
But I agree, 100%.
Yeah, because if you're probably really tired and sore and all that, you probably feel like sitting and just relaxing and
Yeah, yeah,
just absorbing the sun's rays and yeah, just connecting with nature.
yeah, exactly. So in my home life, I don't sit at all unless I'm sleeping. So, and that's at night. So that's when I need that sit down stillness. But at work, because I'm sitting more often, I do need the walking pad, and that's where I do that stillness time. Yeah,
That's fantastic. So you actually schedule time in your day to be
yeah,
like it's sort of like you've got moments of doing through the day where you got a meeting, you're helping a client, all this, but then
yeah,
in between, you've got that reflection being time.
yeah. Yeah, I only started that early this year because it was just so needed. And then it's really important to achieve that, to allocate. Obviously, if we're doing work or if there's a meeting or a coaching session, then obviously you need to focus on what you're doing. That time's quite easy because you've got someone in front of you. But then, as you know, having a business is you've got other time in your day where you need to do other things. And I think it's important to schedule that, or I find it works for me anyway, where I schedule time for different aspects of what you need to do in having a business and having focus time. So you get that done and then you move on to the next thing. So that then enables you to have that time where you've got that stillness time. It
It's
makes it
it's
more productive.
Well, that's what I was just thinking. That was exactly what come to my head when you were sharing what you're sharing. You summed it up. It actually makes you more productive. And
Yes.
I find in my moments of peace or quiet or stillness or reflection is I find the most creative pathway to do the next activity. Like I actually, and I've been generating greater efficiency through doing exactly what you're doing is just creating more space in my day and
Yeah.
and I still accomplish everything.
Yeah.
And it feels better, doesn't it?
It does. It certainly does. And I think another thing that contributes to happiness, and it's um, I found what really helps to catapult as well is when you've got your mind and your emotions and energy in sync. That's
Mm,
when yeah, things just kind of happen
mm.
with so much more ease. And if we're going, and we're not focusing on the human being side of things, that connection with what they call it the three brains, right? They kind of get muddled up and confused and not able to work properly. So yeah, to slow down, and it took me a long time to understand it and feel it and do it um, in my life. But once you get that, if it's something that somebody feels that they need, it's certainly quite magical, I think.
Yeah, and what I've come across in the literature is that the brain waves need to get down to the alpha wavelength in order to sync with the heart. And that's very much as you said, is that time of being, is that you will slow the brain waves down from beta to
Yeah,
alpha in that time of being. You really connect in with your heart. And that also syncs well with the gut brain because our digestion happens when we're relaxed. And so
yeah,
yeah, so I think you sort of that reflection time that you schedule it every day allows you to align the three brains and
yeah,
get that coherence.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And as you know, we need a healthy gut.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
underpins a lot, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Are there any myths or misconceptions that you've come across through your life experience around joy, fulfillment, and happiness?
Not really. I suppose all I can share is what most people know already, to be honest. I think it's just keeping things simple, and that brings people most joy. I know that I saw through some photos that you've been overseas and you saw how people live in a very humble way. And I think to incorporate that in our lives, I know we live a very different life in this country, especially like in Sydney here. But to incorporate that simplicity keeps people very grounded. And I think that's really cool to try and retain and to be humble. Yeah. I think that's really, really important to retain. But I think, in all sincerity, people tend to, and we all do it at some point in time. overcomplicate things. And I'm not sure if it's a misconception, but when things get a little bit overcomplicated away from simplicity and taking us away from us being human beings, yeah, that tends to certainly muddle things up a bit in terms of being happy and being able to be your best version of yourself, really.
I agree because, like, if you think about, the states our body can, we have that sympathetic state which we get things done, so that's very much the doing state,
Yeah,
and the parasympathetic's the opposite, which is the rest and relaxation state, and then there's obviously in between where we're adaptive. We can move either to the
yeah,
sympathetic or the parasympathetic, and you think about like this whole thing of being busy, we're just
yeah,
stuck in that sympathetic state, and
yeah,
if we relate that back to, like, if we're really in the sympathetic state, as you said, getting really carried away with having to get all this to-do list done, and it's, just
yeah,
getting losing yourself in the process of doing that,
yeah,
you get really stuck in that fight or flight. And
yes,
from a happiness, joy, and fulfillment perspective, how can you be happy when your body's thinking, I'm getting away from a tiger at this moment. How can I be smiling and joyful? Is if I'm running away from? Whereas, as you've found, is being in that state of connectedness between the three brains, in that state of relax, more relaxed sort of downtime or being
yeah,
time,
yeah,
is you can experience more, right?
yeah.
You're more aware.
Yes, definitely, definitely, exactly. And I think as well, in the business space, we need to not discount empathy and compassion as well. Like leaders need to remember that um, to be a good leader, the higher up you get, the more you need to serve, right? So with that comes more empathy and more compassion. Still, obviously, looking at numbers and keeping the commercial aspect tight, otherwise the business isn't going to work. But I'm not being fluffy here, but it's certainly important, I think, for leaders to retain that connectiveness with their teams and as the business grows with greater teams and also with their clients and customer service and helping people to be served well, yeah, and have the consistency with that. And I think that's another way of bringing joy into life at work, I guess, because if clients are happy, the business is going to essentially, there's a few more boxes to tick, but if the clients are happy and they're delivering constantly, the product or the service to clients and bring in innovation to give them what they want ahead of time and check in with them and keep up with that customer service, that brings a sense of satisfaction and that connectiveness and also happiness as well because there's a satisfaction for that CEO, his direct reports, and obviously the teams to follow. So I think it's important that leaders remember that they need to have that reflection time and also introduce empathy and compassion to what they do as well.
Yeah, I think it's that balance between the transaction and the relationships, right? It's that, if everything's a transaction, then you lose touch of the EQ and the emotional side of things, and that we're working with people here,
Yeah,
and but it's finding that, not, as you said, you still need to be doing in order to move forward. I mean, human
yeah,
evolution wouldn't have happened if we weren't doing things, right? So, um, but it's finding that nice mix, I think, is where you sort of, business leaders need to find that, allow that time to build relationships, build it with obviously their peers and, the team and
yeah.
the customers. At the same time, we all need to be transacting as well, and it's finding that nice mix.
Yes, yes, it's a balance. Yeah,
Yeah, balance. Yeah. Um,
definitely.
well,
There's
yeah, go.
oh, sorry. No, there's a book that I read over the Christmas break. It's called The Resilience Project. I don't know if
Oh,
you're familiar with
yes,
that one.
I am.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that gentleman did it so
yeah,
beautifully. Yeah, with
yeah.
purpose, and he took his skills and his desire then and went overseas and certainly commercialized something that's really making a difference. And that's just a nice example of how it can work in a business.
Yeah, no, I really, the big takeaway for me is, I mean, obviously those messages are well known, right? It's not as if, but it's the way he tells the story, and I think
Yeah,
his strength is, and why he's been so successful is he's a master storyteller, and like I think that's what makes the book such a good read, is just
yeah,
simply he shares all the messages through stories. We already knew the messages before the book, right? It's not like,
yeah. You're
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah. So, how can the listeners, viewers, best connect with you?
Yeah. So I do have a website. It's Consulting Australia, and my email address is adriana@consultingaustralia.com.au.
Fantastic. Yeah. So, listeners, if you're looking to grow your business, please reach out to Adriana. She can certainly put that strategic overview, look, and help it prosper and grow. Yeah, business owners, please reach out and connect with Adriana. She's an expert in the area of growing, and she's successfully grown her many businesses herself and sold them or moved on. But she's constantly spent a whole life doing building businesses and making them successful. So thank you so much, Adriana, for coming on the Joyful Mate podcast and sharing your wisdom and insights on joy, happiness, and fulfillment.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you. That's it. We're done.
Okay, I don't do anything now, do I? I just
Uh,
let it go.
yeah. So
Yes.
you can obviously